Colton hit send on the inquiry form, his thumb hovering over the screen as if he could take it back. The website promised transformation. Unlock your potential with Riley Kane Fitness. Personalized plans, results that last. It was the kind of glossy ad that screamed second chances, and at 28, with a desk job that chained him to spreadsheets and a body that echoed his fractured heart, Colton needed one desperately. His breakup with Marcus 6 months ago had left him hollowed out, wandering the foggy streets of Capitol Hill like a ghost, nursing beers at dive bars where the jukebox played songs about moving on that he couldn't quite believe. Marcus had been the steady one, the architect with plans for a life in the suburbs, but one rainy Tuesday, he'd packed his bags and confessed he couldn't do this anymore. The unspoken this being Colton's quiet queerness in a world that still felt too straight-edged. Now, Colton ate takeout alone, his reflection in the microwave door showing a man who'd let himself go, soft around the edges where resolve used to be. The response came faster than expected. A direct message from Riley himself. "Hey Colton, saw your form. Sounds like you're ready for a change. Free consult tomorrow at my studio in Fremont, 7 a.m. sharp. Bring water and an open mind." Colton blinked at the words, the casual confidence pulling him in like a current. He showed up early, the autumn chill biting through his hoodie as he navigated the industrial streets, past graffiti-covered warehouses and coffee shops spilling over with hipsters. Riley's studio was tucked into a converted loft, the sign hand-painted in bold strokes: sweat, grow, repeat. Inside, it smelled of rubber mats and eucalyptus, the space open and airy with exposed brick walls and mirrors that reflected his hesitation back at him. Riley was waiting by the entrance, wiping down a kettlebell with a towel, his back to Colton. When he turned, it was like stepping into a scene from one of those motivational documentaries Colton binge-watched on bad nights. Tall, broad-shouldered, with skin the warm hue of caramel, close-cropped black hair, and eyes like polished obsidian that seemed to see right through the armor people wore. He was 32, his bio had said, but he moved with the easy grace of someone who'd made peace with their body long ago. A fitted black t-shirt clung to his chest, revealing the ripple of muscles earned from years of discipline, and gray joggers hung low on his hips. "Colton, right?" Riley extended a hand, his grip firm but not crushing, calluses rough against Colton's palm. "I'm Riley. Glad you made it. Rain's a beast today." They talked goals first. Lose 20 pounds, build stamina, feel alive again. Over mugs of herbal tea in the small lounge area, fairy lights strung above like stars in the overcast morning. Colton found himself opening up more than planned, words tumbling out about the breakup, the inertia of his marketing job at a tech startup downtown, the way Seattle's endless gray mirrored his mood. Riley listened without interrupting, nodding slowly, his presence a quiet anchor. "Fitness isn't just reps," he said finally, leaning forward, elbows on knees. "It's reclaiming what's yours. Your strength, your story. We'll start slow, build from there." The first session was brutal in the best way. Riley guided him through warm-ups, lunges that burned like fire, planks that trembled under Colton's elbows, his voice steady and encouraging over the low hum of indie playlists from hidden speakers. "Breathe into it, Colton. That's where the power is." When Colton's form faltered on squats, Riley stepped in close, hands on his hips to adjust alignment, the touch professional yet electric, sending a jolt up Colton's spine that he hadn't felt in months. It was clinical, meant to correct, but the warmth of Riley's palms lingered, a ghost on his skin as they moved to core work. Colton stole glances in the mirror, watching Riley's reflection. Focused, sweat beading on his forehead, a faint scar above his left eyebrow adding to the rugged appeal. By the end, Colton was drenched, lungs heaving, but for the first time in forever, he felt seen. Not pitted, but witnessed. They wrapped with stretches, Riley's hands again finding Colton's shoulders, pressing gently into knots that held months of tension. "Good work today," Riley murmured, close enough that Colton caught the scent of his soap, clean and cedar-tinged. "You're stronger than you think." Colton nodded, cheeks flushing from exertion or something deeper, and booked the next 3 sessions on the spot. Driving home through the drizzle-slick streets, Pike Place Market's neon signs blurring in the rearview. He replayed the hour in his mind. It wasn't just the workout. It was the way Riley's eyes held his during explanations, patient and probing, like he was mapping the contours of Colton's resolve. That night, Colton lay in bed, the city sounds filtering through his cracked window. Distant horns, laughter from the bar below. His body aching in a way that felt alive. He thought of Marcus less, the sharp edges of memory softening under the day's fatigue. Scrolling Instagram, he found Riley's profile, posts of clients mid-transformation, scenic runs along the Puget Sound, captions about resilience and vulnerability. One photo caught him. A shirtless Riley at dawn on a trail, muscles taut against the misty backdrop, eyes fixed on the horizon with quiet intensity. Colton liked it before he could stop himself, heart pounding as if he'd been caught. The notification pinged back almost immediately. A heart emoji from Riley. Simple, but it warmed Colton from the inside out, a spark in the damp Seattle chill. Sessions blurred into routine over the next 2 weeks, twice a week turning into 3 as Colton craved the structure, the escape. Riley's studio became a sanctuary, the outside world fading behind heavy doors. They talked more about Riley's journey from a rough upbringing in Tacoma, bouncing between foster homes until boxing saved him, channeling rage into rhythm. Anger's a fuel if you harness it, he'd say, spotting Colton on deadlifts, his breath steady against Colton's ear. Colton shared fragments of his own life. The conservative parents in Spokane who'd never quite accepted his coming out at 18. The parade of short-lived dates that fizzled under the weight of expectations. Riley never judged, only reflected back understanding. His laughter a low rumble that eased the knots in Colton's chest. One Tuesday, after a grueling circuit of burpees and battle ropes, they collapsed onto the mats, backs against the wall, water bottles in hand. The rain had stopped, sunlight piercing the clouds in rare slants through the windows. "You're progressing fast," Riley said, nudging Colton's shoulder with his own. "Proud of you." The contact was casual, brotherly almost, but Colton's pulse quickened, awareness sharpening like a blade. He turned, meeting Riley's gaze, and for a beat, the air thickened, charged with unspoken currents. Riley's eyes flicked down to Colton's lips, then away, clearing his throat. "Cool down time. Let's stretch." As Riley's hands worked the hamstrings, pressing deeper than necessary, Colton bit back a gasp. The touch bordered on intimate, thumbs circling in slow arcs that blurred the line between therapeutic and teasing. "Relax here," Riley whispered, voice husky from the session. Colton's mind raced. Was it intentional? The professional in him screamed boundaries, but the man starved for connection leaned into it, savoring the forbidden warmth. When they parted, Colton's legs felt steadier, but his heart raced unsteady, a new rhythm taking hold. By month's end, Colton noticed changes beyond the scale. Shirts fitting looser, energy surging through his commutes on the light rail, even smiles coming easier at work. His coworker, Lena, a sharp-witted designer with purple-streaked hair, teased him over lunch at a food truck pod in South Lake Union. "New glow, Colton? Spill." He laughed it off, blaming endorphins, but inside, he knew it was Riley, the way their sessions wove into his days like a thread pulling him taut. That weekend, Riley texted outside their usual window. "Trail run Sunday? Burke Gilman. Level up your cardio." Colton stared at the message, fingers trembling as he typed yes. It felt like a date without the label, a step beyond the gym's confines into the wild green of Seattle's edges. The trail was alive with weekend warriors, cyclists whirring past, dog walkers in the damp grass, the air crisp with fallen leaves crunching underfoot. Riley arrived in running gear that left little to imagination, his stride matching Colton's as they jogged the paved path, the Olympic mountains hazy in the distance. Conversation flowed easy, from favorite dive bars in Ballard to dreams deferred. Riley's half-finished degree in kinesiology, Colton's unpublished short stories gathering dust on his laptop. Sweat built, breath sinking, and when Colton stumbled on a route, Riley's arm shot out, steadying him around the waist. They paused there, hands lingering, the world narrowing to the heat between them. "You're doing this?" Riley said softly, thumb brushing Colton's side before pulling away. Colton's throat tightened, words failing as he searched Riley's face for clues. Desire flickered there, raw and unguarded. But Riley stepped back, jogging in place. "Keep moving. You've got this." The rest of the run was a blur of endorphins and tension, unspoken words hanging like mist. Back at the trailhead, as they cooled down by the canal, Riley clapped Colton's back. "Same time next week?" Colton nodded, voice caught, the touch echoing long after Riley drove off in his beat-up Jeep. That night, alone with a glass of Pinot on his balcony overlooking the Space Needle's twinkling lights, Colton let the what-ifs flood in. What if this was more than training? What if Riley felt it too, the pull, the possibility? He drafted a text, deleted it, heart a drum in the quiet. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with sweat-slick skin and eyes that promised everything. Monday morning hit like a freight train, Colton's alarm blaring through the haze of fragmented sleep. He dragged himself to the kitchen, brewing coffee strong enough to scour the doubt from his veins, the aroma mingling with the faint brine from Elliott Bay drifting up from the streets below. Work blurred by in a fog of emails and meetings, his mind replaying the trail run on loop. Riley's arm around him, solid and sure, the brief press of thumb against ribcage like a secret Morse code. By 6 p.m., he was lacing up sneakers in the studio's changing room, nerves jangling like loose change. Riley was already there, mid-pull-up on the bar, muscles coiling with effortless power, dropping down with a grin that lit the space. "Ready to crush it?" he asked, tossing Colton a resistance band. Colton caught it, forcing a nod, the casual banter a thin veil over the undercurrent humming between them. They dove into legs day, squats, lunges, calf raises, the gym emptying out around them as the afterwork crowd thinned. Riley demonstrated each move with precision, his body a masterclass in control, but his instructions carried a new intimacy, words laced with double meaning. "Open your hips wider, Colton. Let it in deep." Colton's face burned, chalking it up to exertion, but when Riley knelt to check his stance, hands sliding up his thighs to guide, the touch was deliberate, fingers splaying with a pressure that sent heat pooling low in Colton's belly. He held the squat, breath shallow, Riley's face inches from his, dark eyes locking with green in the mirror's reflection. "Perfect," Riley breathed, holding the position a beat too long before rising. The session dragged on like that, every adjustment a spark, building to a fire Colton wasn't sure he could contain. Cool down brought relief and torment in equal measure. They sat cross-legged on the mat, Riley leading a guided stretch, his voice dropping to a soothing timbre as he mirrored Colton's poses. Inhale strength, exhale doubt. When Colton reached for his toes, Riley's hand covered his, pressing gently to deepen the fold. Skin on skin, no pretense of correction, just connection. Colton's pulse thundered in his ears, the room's quiet amplifying every shift. "Riley," he started, voice rough, but the trainer shushed him softly. "Just feel it." They stayed like that, breaths mingling, until the moment crested and broke, Riley withdrawing with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You're killing it, man. See you Thursday." Thursday came with a vengeance, the week's rain giving way to a brittle blue sky that mocked Colton's inner turmoil. He arrived early, fiddling with his phone to distract from the anticipation gnawing at him. Riley was late, uncharacteristic, and when he burst in, apologetic, wind-blown from a dash across the lot, Colton caught the edge of strain in his features. "Traffic from my place in Wallingford," Riley explained, but his eyes darted, avoiding Colton's steady gaze. They powered through upper body work. Push-ups, rows, presses, Riley pushing harder than usual, as if outrunning his own shadows. Midway through, as Colton battled a set of dumbbell curls, Riley stepped behind him, chest brushing Colton's back, hands enveloping his to correct grip. The proximity was overwhelming, Riley's heartbeat syncing with his own through thin fabric. "Like this?" Riley murmured, guiding the motion, his breath hot against Colton's neck. It wasn't adjustment. It was caress, slow and exploratory, curling Colton's toes in his sneakers. They paused for water, slumped against the mirrored wall, the condensation from their bottles dripping like unshed tears. Riley wiped his brow, then surprised Colton by asking, "You ever feel like you're on the edge of something big, but scared to jump?" Colton swallowed, the question slicing through pretense. "Every day since Marcus left. Like I'm running but not moving." Riley nodded, gaze distant. "I get that. Lost my mom young, cancer. Left me drifting until I found this." He gestured to the space, weights gleaming under fluorescence. "But sometimes, the drift calls you back." Vulnerability cracked his facade, and Colton reached out, hand on Riley's knee, a tentative bridge. Riley covered it with his own, thumb stroking once, twice, before pulling away with a shaky laugh. "Focus up. One more set." The session ended in a haze, Colton floating home on the bus, the city lights streaking past like shooting stars. He texted Lena on impulse. "Drinks? Need to vent." She met him at a cozy spot in Queen and, fairy lights twinkling over craft beers, her listening ear a balm. "Sounds like chemistry," she said, clinking glasses. "But careful, trainers are pros at boundaries." Colton waved it off, but her words lodged like a thorn, pricking as he walked home under street lamps casting long shadows. Friday night found him restless, pacing his apartment, the walls closing in with their bare echoes. He poured a whiskey neat, sinking into the couch with his laptop, pulling up old photos, him and Marcus at Pride, rainbows clashing with Seattle's slate skies. The ache was duller now, but Riley's touch overlaid it, a new layer of want that terrified and thrilled. His phone buzzed. "Riley, a photo of the trail at sunset, caption missed our run. Tomorrow?" Colton typed back yes, adding a heart emoji before doubt could intervene. Sleep evaded him, body thrumming with possibility. Saturday dawned crisp, the trail alive with joggers and the distant cry of gulls. Riley waited at the start, thermos in hand, offering hot coffee with a grin that erased the week's strain. They ran harder, pushing miles, conversation veering personal. Riley's string of failed relationships, always ending in not ready. Colton's fear of being too much or too little. At a viewpoint overlooking the sound, they stopped, chests heaving, Riley's hand finding Colton's shoulder. "You're not too anything. You're real." The words hung, and then Riley leaned in, lips brushing Colton's temple in a ghost of a kiss. Colton froze, then turned, capturing Riley's mouth in a tentative press that ignited like dry tinder. It was brief, searing, tongues tentative, hands clutching shirts, before Riley pulled back, eyes wide with a mix of hunger and horror. "Shit, Colton. He ran a hand over his face, stepping away. "This can't." "I'm sorry." Colton reeled, the rejection a slap in the crisp air. "Why?" "Because I'm a client." Riley shook his head, voice cracking. "Because I'm engaged. To Sarah. We met in college, Tacoma roots. She's everything." The words landed like blows, Colton's world tilting. Engaged. The trail run, the touches, had it all been a game? Riley reached out, but Colton jerked back. "Don't. Just don't." The run back was silent agony, feet pounding pavement as if to outpace the humiliation. At the trailhead, Riley tried again. "Colton, wait. It's complicated. She's back east for work." But Colton cut him off, voice steel. "Cancel the sessions. All of them." He walked away, the fairy horns wailing in the distance like lost souls, tears blurring the path. Sunday blurred into isolation, Colton burrowing under blankets, phone silenced. Lena dragged him out for brunch in Fremont, troll statue grinning mockingly under the bridge, but even Eggs Benedict tasted like ash. "Dump the trainer," she urged. "Find your own rhythm." He nodded, but inside, betrayal festered. Riley's hands, once salvation, now stains. Monday loomed, work a distant drone. But Colton forced himself up, vowing reinvention without Riley's shadow. Yet Tuesday evening, the studio's pull was magnetic. He didn't go for a session, but wandered Fremont streets, Past Riley's loft building, lights warm in windows that mocked his cold bed. A figure moved behind glass. Riley, shirtless, shadow of another form beside him? Imagination or truth, it twisted the knife. Colton turned home, rain resuming its relentless patter, washing away illusions. Weeks stretched, Colton resuming solo gym visits downtown, waits a poor substitute for connection. Progress stalled, motivation waning, the mirror reflecting a man adrift again. One night, buzzed on cheap Merlot, he Googled Riley. Social media a minefield of couple pics. Sarah's blonde hair and easy smile a contrast to his own disarray. Jealousy coiled, but so did longing. The what-ifs a siren call. Then an email, Colton, it's Riley. Can we talk? Coffee, neutral ground. No pressure. Heart hammering, he agreed. The cafe in Ballard a cozy trap of exposed beams and espresso steam. Riley arrived disheveled, dark circles under eyes, sliding into the booth with a sigh. I fucked up. Sarah and I were on a break. She sensed the distance. Colton sipped his latte, walls up. And what? I'm the rebound? Riley leaned in, voice raw. No. You're the wake-up. That kiss, it scared me because it felt right. Too right. The confession cracked Colton's armor. Words spilling. Hurt. Confusion. The void left by Marcus amplified by this new wound. Riley listened, hand inching across the table, stopping short. Let me make it right. Friends first. No gym, no lines. Colton searched his face, seeing the man beneath the trainer, the foster kid, the fighter, and nodded, tentative olive branch extended. From there, friendship bloomed cautious, coffee turning to walks along the locks, watching salmon leap in autumn light. Riley shared more. Sarah's ultimatum, his bisexuality a secret buried under straight-passing norms. Colton opened scars, the parental rejection that made love feel conditional. Laughter crept in, shared playlists of Bon Iver and Hozier, nights ending with hugs that lingered but held back. But tension simmered, touches accidental, brushing hands over shared fries, knees knocking under cafe tables, building to a boil. One evening, post-hike in Discovery Park, sunset painting the sound gold, Riley stopped Colton mid-stride. I can't pretend anymore. His kiss was fierce, claiming, Colton's response a surrender. They tumbled into Riley's apartment, clothes shedding like old skins, bodies mapping uncharted territories with urgent grace. The morning after dawn's soft, Seattle's light filtering through Riley's gauzy curtains in hues of pearl and rose, casting gentle patterns on tangled sheets. Colton woke first, Riley's arm heavy across his waist, breath warm against his shoulder blade. Panic flickered. Had they crossed into regret? But Riley stirred, pulling him closer, murmuring morning, with a sleepy smile that erased doubts. They moved slow, coffee brewing as they padded barefoot in oversized tees, the kitchen a haven of domesticity. Riley scrambling eggs with one hand, the other tracing lazy circles on Colton's hip. Conversation flowed easy, dissecting the night. No awkward postmortems, just shared wonder at how bodies knew what minds hesitated to name. Feels like coming home, Riley said, plating food, eyes soft. Colton nodded, fork pausing, the words a balm on old wounds. They fell into a rhythm, days weaving around stolen hours. Work for Colton meant pitching ad campaigns in glass-walled offices overlooking the monorail tracks. Mind wandering to Riley's texts. Memes of buff cats captioned us after leg day. Riley's schedule packed client sessions and a part-time gig coaching youth boxing in the Central District. But evenings were theirs. Picnics in Gasworks Park, blankets spread amid rusting relics, feeding each other grapes as the skyline ignited. Intimacy deepened, touches evolving from tentative to knowing. Riley's fingers threading through Colton's hair during movie nights on the couch. Colton's palm flat against Riley's chest, feeling the steady thump that synced with his own. Yet shadows lingered. Sarah's ghost hovered in framed photos Colton pretended not to see, her laugh echoing in Riley's anecdotes about college escapades. One night, post-dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Thai spot in the U District, Riley's phone lit up with her name. He silenced it, but the mood shifted, laughter faltering. "Talk to me?" Colton pressed later, curled on the bed, Riley's head in his lap. Sighing, Riley confessed the limbo. Texts pleading reconciliation, her flight booked for Thanksgiving. "I love her, Colton, as family, as history. But your future." The admission twisted, Colton's chest tightening with the familiar specter of second place. "Am I just the intermission?" he whispered. Riley sat up, cupping his face. "No. You're the act. Give me time to end it clean." Colton tried, throwing himself into writing short stories of fractured men finding grace in urban wilds, submitted to lit mags in Portland and San Francisco. Lena became confidant, their happy hours at a Belltown speakeasy filled with her sage nods. "He's choosing you, but make him earn it." Encouraged, Colton planned a surprise. Tickets to an indie band at Numos, the venue's sticky floors and pulsing lights a cocoon for their world. Riley arrived beaming, pulling Colton into a dance amid the crowd, bodies swaying to synth waves, lips meeting in shadowed corners. The night peaked at home, urgency tempered by tenderness, Riley whispering promises against skin. "All in, I swear." Thanksgiving loomed like a storm front, Sarah's arrival a ticking clock. Riley met her at the airport alone, the wait at a Seattle-Tacoma Starbucks gnawing at Colton via anxious check-ins. Hours later, Riley returned to Colton's place, face etched with exhaustion, collapsing onto the couch. "It's over. For real this time." Details spilled. Tears in the terminal, accusations of cowardice, her boarding a red-eye home with finality. Relief washed Colton, but so did Riley's grief, raw and unfiltered. They held vigil that night, takeout forgotten, Riley's head on Colton's chest as sobs shook him. "I hurt her. Does that make me the villain?" Colton stroked his hair. "No. It makes you human. Choosing truth." Healing came piecemeal. They hosted a Friendsgiving with Lena and Riley's boxing kids, teens with wary eyes and quick fists. Turkey carved amid laughter, stories exchanged like currency. Colton watched Riley shine, mentoring with quiet fire, and felt pride swell, mingled with a deepening love that scared him with its depth. Dates multiplied. A ferry to Bainbridge for wine tastings, hands linked on deck as Orcus breached distant waters. Stargazing in the Cascades, bundled in a tent where whispers turned to vows of forever. But cracks spiderwebbed. Riley's phone still buzzed with Sarah's echoes, angry voicemails deleted but lingering, and Colton's insecurities flared. Nights spent staring at ceilings, wondering if history repeated. One argument erupted after a holiday party at Colton's office, eggnog loosening tongues. "You check your phone every 5 minutes," Colton accused, voice rising in the cab ride home. Riley bristled. "It's habit, not her." Words escalated, hurts unearthed. Colton's fear of abandonment, Riley's guilt over betrayal. They parted furious, Colton crashing at Lena's, the guest room's lumpy mattress a poor substitute for Riley's warmth. Reconciliation came dawn. Riley at the door with coffee and contrition, eyes red-rimmed. "I hate fighting you. It's like fighting myself." They talked for hours, raw and unsparing, boundaries redrawn. Therapy for Riley, a couple's app for them. Trust rebuilt, brick by brick, intimacy renewed in gentler forms. Slow mornings mapping freckles, evenings reading poetry by lamplight, Pablo Neruda's Verses a Liturgy of Longing. Winter gripped Seattle, holidays yielding to January's skeletal bear, but their bond thickened. Colton landed a story publication, champagne toasts in a rooftop bar overlooking the Needles' glow. Riley surprised him with a custom journal, leather-bound, inscribed, "For the stories only you can tell." Love solidified, but so did stakes. Riley proposing they move in, Colton's apartment too small for two lives merging. Spring teased with crocuses pushing through pavement cracks, their world blooming. A weekend in the Olympics, cabin rented by a roaring fire, they made plans, joint gym, Colton's writing retreat, Riley's certification in holistic training. Sex evolved, playful and profound, bodies a language of forgiveness. Yet, in quiet moments, Colton glimpsed Riley's faraway stares, ghosts not fully exorcised. The crisis brewed subtly. An envelope arrived at Riley's, forwarded from Sarah's address. Legal papers, dissolution forms and signed. Riley paled, crumpling it. She wants closure. A meeting. Colton supported, but dread coiled. The coffee shop rendezvous in Tacoma dragged. Hours turning to evening. Riley returning hollow-eyed. She said, I'm running from myself. That you're the symptom. Rage flared in Colton, but Riley's plea silenced it. I chose you. Believe that. Doubt festered. Nights of fitful sleep. Colton's stories turning darker. Protagonists adrift in fog-shrouded cities. Lena warned over park runs. Don't let her rewrite your narrative. But the seed planted, watered by Riley's late nights processing. Whispers on calls Colton pretended not to hear. Climax shattered on a muggy May evening. Post-session at a new gym. Riley insisting on training again. Boundaries blurred deliciously. They argued on route home. Colton's jealousy spilling. Are you still hers in your head? Riley slammed brakes at a light. Fury igniting. You think this is easy? I left my life for you. Horns blared. Tension electric. At Riley's, it erupted. Accusations flying. Colton packing a bag mid-yell. I can't be the consolation prize. Door slammed. Colton fleeing into the drizzle. Heart fracturing anew. The rain-slicked streets of Seattle swallowed Colton whole that night. His sneakers splashing through puddles that reflected the city's fractured neon heart. He ended up at Lena's again. The familiar chime of her bell a small mercy. Collapsing onto her thrift store couch amid boxes of half-unpacked art supplies. She didn't pry at first, just brewed chamomile and draped a blanket over his shivering form, the steam rising like unanswered prayers. When words came, they poured bitter. The fight's barbs, Riley's defensiveness, the gnawing fear that love was just another cycle of loss. Lena listened, her hand steady on his knee. You're not a prize, Colton. You're the whole damn game. But you can't play if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Her wisdom stuck, a splinter under skin, as he crashed in her spare room, dreams haunted by Riley's silhouette fading into mist. Days blurred into a self-imposed exile, Colton burying in work. Late nights at the office, spreadsheets a numb refuge, while dodging Riley's texts. Please layered with apologies. Talk to me. Please. He read them in secret, heart twisting, but pride held firm, a shield against vulnerability. Solo runs along the waterfront became ritual, the ferry wakes churning like his thoughts, gulls wheeling overhead indifferent witnesses. He wrote furiously, a novella taking shape, a trainer and client entangled in urban vines, betrayal's thorns drawing blood before bloom. Submission to a New York lit journal felt like defiance, a reclaiming. Riley respected the space at first, then pushed. Flowers delivered to work, lilies mocking with their funereal white. A note. I miss your fire. Colton binned them, but kept the card, tracing ink in weak moments. Lena orchestrated diversions. Gallery openings in Pioneer Square, where Colton's eyes lingered on abstracts of tangled forms, echoing his turmoil. Brunches with her queer book club, stories of resilience chipping at his isolation. One member, Theo, a lanky barista with tattoos snaking up olive arms and a laugh like summer thunder, flirted gently, buying Colton a refill with a wink. Heard you're a writer. Spill your poison. Conversation flowed, a harmless spark, but guilt shadowed it. Riley's ghost in every easy smile. 2 weeks in, crisis peaked. Colton returned from a late edit session to find Riley on his doorstep, drenched from the downpour, eyes stormy as the sound. I can't do this without you. Voice broke on the words, and Colton faltered, key trembling in the lock. Inside, over cold pizza and warmer confessions, Riley laid bare. Therapy sessions unearthing buried bisexuality, shame from foster echoes, Sarah's meeting a catalyst for truth. She was safe. You terrify me because you're real. Colton absorbed it, anger thawing to ache. Terrify me too. But I want us. Flawed and all. Reentry was tentative, nights relearning rhythms, cuddles without rush, talks dissecting triggers like surgeons. They resumed training. Riley's studio a neutral ground, Touches professional until proven otherwise. Progress mirrored inward. Colton's lifts heavier, stories sharper, Riley's smiles brighter. Summer teased, solstice sun lingering late, their world expanding. A road trip to Olympic Peninsula, tent pitched by Ho Rainforest, moss-draped giants whispering approval as they made love under stars. Bodies a map of mended lines. But healing's path wound treacherous. Sarah resurfaced in autumn, an email to Colton, hacked from Riley's account. Words venom-laced. He'll leave you like he left me. Run while you can. Shock rooted him, forwarded to Riley, who raged then crumbled. She's hurting, but this crosses lines. They blocked her, but poison seeped. Trust's fragile, we fraying. Arguments simmered low. Colton's hypervigilance, Riley's defensiveness. Nights spent on opposite couch ends, silence heavier than shouts. Crisis crested at a harvest festival in Ballard. Fairy-lit avenues thrumming with fiddles and ale. Amid revelers in flannel and boots, Riley's ex-colleague from Tacoma appeared, Sarah on his arm, eyes locking with Colton's across the crowd. Confrontation brewed, her approach a slow burn. Enjoying my scraps? She hissed. Riley pulling Colton away, but damage bloomed. Whispers rippling, Colton's paranoia flaring. Homebound, fury unleashed. You didn't tell me she'd be here. Riley countered. I didn't know, but you're pushing me away before she can. The fight devolved, Colton storming out to the locks. Salmon runs a futile distraction, tears mingling with spray. Midnight call to Lena. It's over. Again. She met him at a 24-hour diner, pancakes a poor panacea. Or it's a test. What do you want? Dawn broke with clarity. Colton wanted Riley, mess and all. He returned, finding Riley asleep on the floor, journal open to pages of doubt-scrawled fears. Wake up was tear-streaked, apologies a duet. We're stronger broken, Riley whispered, and Colton believed, sealing with a kiss salt-tanged. Winter wrapped them tighter, holidays a deliberate reclaiming. Tree trimming to Sufjan Stevens, ornaments etched with inside jokes. New Year's at Alki Beach, fireworks bursting over waves as resolutions vowed fidelity. Colton's novella accepted, launch reading in a Capitol Hill bookstore. Riley in front row, eyes shining pride. Intimacy flowered, lazy Sundays tracing scars. Riley's over Colton's heart, verbal vows exchanged in candlelight. Spring brought proposals of permanence. Riley suggesting cohabitation, Colton's yes a leap. Packing merged lives, bookshelves groaning under dual worlds. Riley's boxing gloves beside Colton's manuscripts. Yet undercurrents stirred. Riley's restlessness, late nights at the gym masking unease. Colton noticed, gentle probes yielding just stress. But intuition prickled. Summer solstice marked 6 months post-crisis. A beach bonfire in Golden Gardens. Friends circling flames with esmores and songs. Riley pulled Colton aside. Ring box glinting. Simple band. Engraved, our rhythm. Neil was earnest. Build forever with me? Joy surged, yes, a roar amid cheers. But as embers died, Sarah's shadow loomed. A letter arrived. Wedding invite mockingly inscribed, to the man who won. Betrayal's blade twisted fresh. Riley's pallor confirming unread receipt. Burn it, Colton urged. But Riley's hesitation cracked foundations. She's closing the chapter. With spite. The night soured, celebration curdling to suspicion. Home, accusations flew. Do you still love her? Riley's denial rang hollow, Colton's heart splintering. I need space, he choked, fleeing to Lena's once more, the cycle's cruel echo. Autumn leaves carpeted Seattle's sidewalks in fiery protest as Colton navigated the fallout. Each crunch underfoot a reminder of fragility. Lena's couch became semi-permanent, her apartment a cluttered nest of half-read novels and essential oils, the scent of lavender a feeble ward against despair. Days dissolved into mechanical routine, commutes on crowded buses, staring out at the Evergreen Point Bridge's span, mind adrift in what-ifs. Work suffered, pitches landing flat, bosses raised brow a silent query. Colton poured into writing, the novella's sequel birthing a protagonist's descent. Love's Labyrinth, exits barred by mirrors of self-doubt. Submissions flew to agents in LA, responses a distant hope. Riley's overtures persisted, voicemails raw with remorse. I burned the invite. Come home. But Colton filtered them, each listen a fresh wound. Theo from book club reemerged, coffee invites turning to walks in Volunteer Park. His easy banter a salve. You're not broken, just bent? Theo said one afternoon, conservatory's orchids blooming defiant around them. Flirtation tempted, a night at Theo's loft ending in hesitant kisses, but Colton's pullback was instinctive. Riley's imprint too deep, guilt a tide pulling him under. Not ready, he admitted. Theo's understanding gnawed a kindness that stung. Confrontation brewed inevitable. A rainy Tuesday, post-yoga at a Fremont studio. Colton's new ritual for grounding. Riley waited outside, hood up against the deluge, eyes pleading. 5 minutes, then I'll go. They ducked into a nearby cafe, steam fogging windows, orders of black coffee, a ritual of neutrality. Riley spoke first, voice steady despite tremor. The invite gutted me too, but it clarified you're my choice. Always. Colton stirred sugar he didn't take. Skepticism a shield. Choices have echoes. Hers lingers. Riley leaned in, recounting therapy breakthroughs. Unpacking foster abandonment, bisexuality's buried shame. Sarah as crutch not compass. You're my north. Let me prove it. Skepticism warred with want. But Colton's nod was cautious. A trial reunion over dinner at a Pike Place oyster bar. Briny bites chased by Sauvignon Blanc. Conversation tiptoed, work woes, Seattle's mayoral race buzz. Avoiding minds until dessert, when Riley slid a key across the table. Move in. For real. No more pauses. Heart stuttered. Colton pocketed it, the metal warm as promise. Rebuilding was excavation. Layers peeled in couples counseling at a Belltown clinic, sessions dissecting patterns like archaeologists. Fear of loss binds you. The therapist noted, neutral space fostering truths. Colton's parental scars fueling hypervigilance. Riley's guilt manifesting as withdrawal. Homework bred intimacy. Weekly vulnerability dates. Sharing fears over home-cooked meals. Riley's stir-fry a gateway to confessions. Laughter returned, tentative then torrent. Movie marathons of 80s rom-coms. Quoting lines amid popcorn fights. Spontaneous dances in the kitchen to Prince, bodies rediscovering joy. Winter holidays tested resolve. Family calls from Spokane laced with passive probes. Seeing anyone special? Colton's deflections polished shields. Riley's Tacoma kin extended olive branches. A tense dinner yielding to warmth. Aunt's pecan pie a metaphor for sweetness earned. New Year's found them on a rooftop in Belltown. Countdown kisses sealing intentions. Fireworks mirroring inner sparks. Spring unfurled tentative. Cohabitation's kinks smoothed. Riley's early rises clashing with Colton's night owl scrawls. Compromises in coffee timers and quiet hours. Colton's agent signed him. Was building for a debut collection. Readings booked in Portland. Riley celebrated with a surprise weekend in the San Juans. Ferry rocking to Lopez Island. Kayaks slicing turquoise bays. Nights in a driftwood cabin where lovemaking whispered futures. Yet undercurrents swirled. Sarah's silence broke with a barrage. Emails to Riley's work. Veiled threats of exposure. Tell your clients who you really are. Panic crested. Riley confiding mid-run along Green Lake. Laps churning turmoil. Bisexuality isn't scandal. But in Tacoma circles. Colton halted. Breath ragged. Own it. Or it owns you. Support solidified. Riley drafting a public post. Subtle, affirming, but hesitation stalled. Fear's grip tenacious. Crisis ignited on a humid June eve. Post-reading in a Capitol Hill indie shop. Applause still ringing as they walked home arm in linked. Theo appeared at a crosswalk. Grin fading at the sight. Colton? And trainer guy. Awkward hellos masked undercurrents. But later, Riley's jealousy simmered. He wants you back. Colton laughed it off, but seeds of doubt sprouted. Riley's accusations mirroring his own past paranoia. Argument brewed over wine. Words sharpening. You're projecting your ex's ghost. Riley snapped. And you're flirting with escapes. Door slams echoed, Colton crashing at Theo's just for the night. Boundaries blurred in wine-fueled confessions. Morning regret hit like hangover. Colton fleeing before dawn. Theo's call me a loose thread. Back at the apartment. Riley's note. Gone to Tacoma. Need air. Days stretched to a week. Radio silence a void. Colton leaned on Lena. Therapy solo. Writing a fevered piece on love's recursive fractures. Agent's call. Book deal. Should have elated, but echoed hollow without Riley's cheer. Reunion sparked unexpected. Riley at the studio. Mid-session with a client. Colton bursting in unannounced. Words tumbling. Don't run. Fight with me. Client dismissed. They collided in the office. Tears and embraces. Truths bared. Riley's Tacoma trip a confrontation with Sarah. Papers signed. Closure clawed. You're my fight, he vowed. Colton confessed the Theo slip. Boundaries reaffirmed. Lovemaking that night was reclamation. Fierce and forgiving. Bodies a testament to endurance. Summer deepened their weave. Vacations to Montana's plains. Rented cabin amid big skies. Hiking trails where vulnerabilities aired like laundry. Colton's book tour kicked off. Riley Rodiangi stops in Eugene, Boise, crowds swelling with queer voices echoing his. Back home, routines rooted, joint gym evolutions, Riley incorporating yoga for Colton's flexibility, sessions ending in steamroom whispers. But betrayal's specter stalked. An anonymous tip to Colton's publisher, fabricated tales of Riley's predatory past, whispers of client affairs, scandal brewed, emails frantic, Colton's trust shattering. Is any true? He demanded. Riley's denial vehement, proof in cleared records. Yet damage lingered, public scrutiny a microscope on their private world. Healing's arc bent toward grace. Colton standing by. Book launch a defiant triumph, dedication to rhythms reclaimed. Riley's coming out post went live. Ripples of support drowning trolls, bisexuality owned as strength. Autumn waned. Leaves surrendering to frost. Their love a sturdy oak. Yet in quiet, Colton pondered costs. Scars map intricate. Worth every line. November's chill seeped into Seattle's bones. The city hunkering under slate skies as Colton and Riley navigated the scandal's aftershocks. Each gust a reminder of exposure's bite. Colton's book hit shelves with a whisper. Not the roar he'd dreamed. Reviews mixed, some praising raw vulnerability, others nitpicking sensationalized drama. The anonymous tips poison tainting perceptions. Signings drew small crowds, loyal fans clutching copies inscribed with hopes. But Riley's absence at events. Work conflicts cited, stung. A subtle fracture widening. Evenings found them in the apartment, now fully theirs with merged bookshelves and a shared desk by the window. Takeout containers steaming as they dissected headlines. It's noise, Riley insisted, fork spearing lo mein. But his eyes betrayed the toll, jaw tight under the weight of judgment. Colton threw into promotion. Podcasts in Portland dissecting queer narratives. His voice steady despite inner quake. Listeners resonated. Emails flooding. Your story saved me. Validation patched wounds, but home tensions simmered. Riley's late nights at the gym. Clients needing extra support. Explanations thin as fog. One argument flared over dishes. Suds flying. You're pulling away again, Colton accused, sponge clenched. Riley dried hands sharp. And you're thriving without me. Bookstar, remember? Insecurity's blade twisted both ways. Words landing as self-fulfilling prophecies. They parted to corners. Riley to the balcony overlooking the hum of Aurora Avenue. Colton to bed, sheets cold as doubt. Therapy doubled down, joint sessions evolving to individual dives. Colton unpacking fame's hollow lure. Riley confronting bisexuality's biphobia barbs. Foster scars flaring under scrutiny. Breakthroughs trickled. Riley joining a support group in the Central District. Faces like his own sharing stories of invisibility. Colton mentoring at a youth writing workshop. Kids eyes wide with possibility mirroring his younger self. Shared progress bridged gaps. Date nights reclaiming joy. A comedy show in the Tractor Tavern. Bellies aching from laughs. Baking failures in the kitchen. Flour-dusted kisses sweeter than success. Holiday lights twinkled early, a distraction from undercurrents. They hosted a solstice gathering, friends circling the tree with mulled wine, Lena toasting, to loves that bend but don't break. Riley shone, regaling with boxing tales, hand possessive on Colton's knee under the table. Yet midnight found him withdrawn, staring at ornaments from his Tacoma days, Sarah's echo in crystal facets. "Missed the family version of us," he admitted later, curled fetal. Colton held him, whispering, "We're building ours. Better." New Year dawned resolute, resolutions etched in a shared journal. Weekly check-ins, no unspoken storms. Winter yielded to tentative thaws, Valentine's a quiet anchor. Riley crafting a playlist of their songs, from trail run anthems to slow burn ballads, dinner at a waterfront bistro where proposals past echoed in candle flames. Colton's book climbed indie lists, a quiet victory, tour wrapping in Vancouver, Riley surprising at the border with roses and a grin. Spring's bloom brought renewal, but crisis lurked in green shoots. Riley's group unearthed a buried truth, a past fling with a client, years buried under shame, surfacing in confession. Before boundaries meant anything, he told Colton over park bench talks, cherry blossoms shedding like confessions. Shock rippled, trust's levee cracking. "How many secrets?" Colton whispered, voice small. Riley's eyes pleaded, "No more, I swear." Processing stretched weeks, space granted but not surrendered. Nights apart testing resolve. Colton's solo runs along the canal a meditation on forgiveness's cost. Betrayal's echo amplified when the ex-client resurfaced, a message to Riley, "Miss our sessions," and more. Deletion swift, but screenshot shared, Colton's paranoia peaking. "Am I just the latest?" Confrontation raged, apartment a battlefield of hurled hurts. Riley's "You're it," lost in roar. Colton fled to the studio, ironic sanctuary, waits a catharsis, sweat purging rage. Dawn brought clarity, call to Riley, "Come, we end this cycle." Reunion was reckoning, couch confessions till sunrise. Riley vowing transparency, Colton demanding accountability. Boundaries redrawn, gym separate, check-ins codified, love's framework reinforced. Summer arrived healing, a retreat to Oregon coast, Cannon Beach's haystack sentinel as they walked tide pools, hands clasped, waves erasing footprints. Lovemaking reborn gentle, exploratory, bodies relearning trust's terrain. Back in Seattle, growth accelerated. Colton's second book deal, Riley launching a podcast on queer fitness, episodes raw with guest journeys. Collaborations sparked, joint workshop on body positivity, attendees' breakthroughs mirroring their own. Friends expanded circle. Theo as platonic ally, group hikes in Rattlesnake Ledge yielding vistas of forgiveness. Yet climax loomed in autumn's amber, Sarah's final gambit, a lawsuit threat over emotional distress. Papers served at Riley's gym, clients whispering. Publicity nightmare, media sniffing for scandal, Colton's publisher hedging support. Riley crumbled first. "I can't drag you down," packing a bag mid-fight. Colton blocked the door, tears fierce. "We face it together, or not at all." United front forged, lawyers enlisted, counters filed exposing harassment. Resolution dragged, stress etching lines, but solidarity deepened. Nights strategizing over wine, laughter defying dread. Winter's grip loosened to victory. Case dropped, Sarah's retreat a white flag. Relief crashed like waves, celebration in a Fremont loft party. Toasts to survival. But scars lingered, Colton's writing turning toward redemption arcs. Riley's training infused with empathy. Spring 2026 bloomed profound. Anniversary marked by vows renewed, non-legal, heartfelt, under cherry arches. Life's tapestry wove richer. Colton's mentorship expanding, Riley's podcast syndicating. Intimacy flowered constant, touches now anchors, not ignitions. In quiet eves, Colton reflected on the arc, from hired hands to held hearts, betrayals forged tempering strength. Love, he knew, wasn't absence of storm, but dancing in rain. The summer of 2026 unfurled like a long-held breath released, Seattle's sunsets lingering in lavender haze over the sound, painting the skyline in strokes of forgiveness. Colton and Riley's life had settled into a cadence both earned and cherished, the apartment now a true home, walls adorned with framed covers of Colton's books, a shelf of Riley's coaching awards glinting beside potted ferns that thrived against odds. Mornings began with shared brews on the balcony, steam curling as they planned days. Colton's writing sprints interrupted by Riley's gym runs, evenings converging in collaborative bliss. Riley editing Colton's drafts with athlete's precision, Colton brainstorming Riley's podcast episodes with storyteller's flair. Touches had evolved from tentative sparks to steady flames, a hand on the small of the back during crowded markets, fingers interlaced on couch marathons of documentaries about unsung queer icons. Yet depth demanded reckoning. Colton's third book loomed, a memoir weaving their story, hired trainer to lifelong partner, betrayals as plot twists yielding growth. Agent urged candor. Lean into the mess. Readers crave real. Riley supported, but vulnerability's edge sharpened in readings. Crowds in Chicago's indie shops probing, how'd you forgive? Colton's answers honed honest. Not once, but daily. Love's a practice. Back home, discussions deepened, Riley admitting residual guilt's gnaw. I fear I'll break us again. Colton's response, a kiss to temple. We're shatterproof now. Autumn brought tests of temper, a client crisis at Riley's studio, accusations of favoritism mirroring old shadows, whispers reviving scandal ghosts. Media circled, a local blog dredging past drama. Clicks baited on trainers' turbulent loves. Riley weathered it with poise, group therapy a bulwark, but nights found him pacing, Colton's arms a harbor. You've changed the narrative, Colton murmured, tracing jawline. Resolution came communal. Open forum at the gym, Riley addressing head-on, bisexuality affirmed, boundaries broadcast. Attendees' nods built bridges, the space reborn stronger. Thanksgiving anchored gratitude, extended family converging. Colton's spoken parents thawing with tentative pride, toasting his bestseller status. Riley's Tacoma kin embracing fully, aunt's hugs fierce as her stories. Table groaned under turkey and tamales, laughter layering histories, toasts to chosen kin. Post-feast walks along Alki, waves lapping revelations. Colton's parents admitting past failings. We see you now. Tears salted the sound, healing's tide rising. Winter holidays glittered intentional. A cabin getaway in the Methow Valley, snow blanketing evergreens as they skied cross-country trails, bodies sinking in powder's hush. Evenings by fire, esmores melting into slow dances, Riley's whispers of marry me. For real, not proposal but prophecy. Back in city glow, plans percolated. Civil ceremony in summer, intimate circle under Capitol Hill's pride flags. Spring's renewal mirrored inner bloom, Colton's book tour triumphant. LA readings packed, fans queuing for signed lessons in letting go. Riley joined select stops, their duo dynamic a draw, panels on love's labor yielding standing ovations. Homecomings sparked passion, bodies celebrating survival's poetry. Crisis's final echo arrived unbidden, a health scare. Riley's routine check flagging irregular heartbeat, echoes of his mother's cancer haunting. Hospital waits blurred, Colton's hand vice-tight, fears unspoken but shared in squeezed palms. Tests cleared benign. Stress-induced, therapy prescribed rest, but vulnerability bonded deeper, Riley vowing no more hiding hurts. Colton echoed, their journal filling with gratitudes. For your heart, steady as mine. Summer solstice crowned their year, ceremony at Discovery Park's lighthouse, wildflowers wreathed in hair, Lena officiating with wit and warmth. Vows exchanged, sea breeze kissed. Colton's, you touched me beyond skin, healed what was far. Riley's, from trainer to forever, you're my strength. Rings slipped simple, gold bands etched with intertwined paths, cheers erupting as gulls wheeled approval. Reception sprawled picnic style, fiddles and feasts under oaks, dances till dusk. Honeymoon whispered local, road trip up the coast to the San Juans, bikes rented for island loops, sunsets savored with ciders and stargazing. Conversations turned legacy. Fostering kids like Riley once was Colton's writing foundation for queer youth. Dreams seeded, not rushed, roots in present joy. Back in Seattle's embrace, life rippled outward. Colton's fourth book brewed. Riley's Academy opening doors for underprivileged athletes. Challenges came. Market slumps, client losses, but met hand in hand. Resilience their refrain. One evening, balcony perch as autumn hinted, Colton reflected aloud. Hired you for body, found soul. Riley pulled him close, eyes reflecting city lights. And I thought I was teaching. You schooled me in grace. Laughter mingled with sighs, love's vastness humbling. In the quiet weave of days, they embodied humanism's core. Flawed vessels of connection, betrayals alchemized to wisdom, touches now testaments to chosen kin. Seattle's rain fell gentle, washing clean, promising tomorrows as boundless as the sound.